Welcome to Relationship Reset with life coach Dr. Mark Shook. In each podcast, Mark will weave together the ancient truths of Scripture with the latest cutting-edge neuroscience in short, concise, effective, and doable principles and actions to reset your relationship dynamic.
Hello and welcome to Relationship Reset, that podcast where we find out how to have a deep emotional connection in our most intimate relationships. We're looking at the work of Dr. Sue Johnson and how it lines up so well with the Bible. She says there's 6 conversations that we need to have if we're going to really have an amazing connection in our most intimate relationship, in our marriage. We've looked at the first 3. Number 4 is a hold me tight conversation. And this is what creates secure emotional bonds. This conversation is at the heart of emotionally focused therapy. And this particular conversation called Hold Me Tight is one of the most transformative, the most healing tools in building a long-lasting, loving relationship. See, relationships are not just about being together physically. That's something that maybe you feel like I'm pretty good at that, but they're about feeling safe and loved and emotionally connected, something that many of us have never experienced, and even in our marriage, even if we've been married some years. Many of us struggle with how to express our emotional needs in ways that actually bring us closer to our partner. We either get defensive and shut down, or we end up in that same old cycle of arguments without ever getting to the root of the issue. The hold me tight conversation is all about just breaking that cycle, learning how to open up emotionally in a way that creates secure attachment, the kind of deep bond where both partners feel safe, feel valued, feel truly connected. So let's take a deep dive into what the Hold Me Tight conversation is, why it matters so much, and how you can use it to create a more secure and loving relationship. What is the Hold Me Tight conversation? At its core, the Hold Me Tight conversation is about emotional vulnerability. Now, this is going to take courage. It's a moment where partners share their deepest fears, their deepest needs, their deepest longings with each other, not from a place of anger or defensiveness or blame, but from a place of honesty and openness. It's a conversation that helps partners move beyond those surface level issues that you've been fighting about all these years and into the emotional heart of what's really going on. So the key to this is expressing your primary emotions, things like fear, sadness, longing, rather than your secondary emotions, those armored emotions we've talked about, anger, frustration, defensiveness. Often when we're feeling disconnected, we react with secondary emotions like criticism or withdrawal. But what's really happening underneath those armored emotions is a deeper fear, a fear of not being loved, a fear of being abandoned, a fear of not being enough. In the Hold Me Tight conversation, couples are encouraged to name those deeper emotions and express them in a way that invites the other partner to respond with compassion and care. It's a way to reach for each other emotionally, saying, I need you. I want to feel close to you. So why is this conversation so important? Why is this conversation so powerful? Why does it matter so much to our relationships? The answer lies in something Sue Johnson draws from attachment theory. Just like children need secure attachment with that primary caregiver growing up in order to feel safe, adults need secure emotional bonds with their romantic partners to feel loved and secure. When we feel disconnected or emotionally unsafe in our relationship, it triggers our deepest fears. What are they again? Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, feeling unimportant, feeling of not being adequate, feeling of not being enough. When those attachment fears are triggered, remember how we react most of the time, either by protesting, trying to get the other person's attention through anger or criticism, or by withdrawing, pulling back emotionally to protect ourselves from the fear of being hurt. But when we have a hold me tight conversation, we do something different. Instead of reacting with anger or defensiveness or distance, we reach out for connection. We express our vulnerabilities, our fears, our needs in a way that allows our partner to understand what's really going on beneath the surface. It allows our partner to truly see our heart. When we see each other's hearts, the whole atmosphere changes. It opens the door for a partner to respond in the same vulnerable way, offering reassurance and connection. And the conversation is what creates secure emotional bonds, the kind of bonds where each partner feels like they can turn to the other in times of need to feel safe and understood and valued. So, how do you have a hold me tight conversation? There are three keys that make this conversation work. The first one, identify your primary emotions. The first step is to recognize yourself, what you're really feeling beneath the surface. Often we're so focused on those surface level frustrations like you didn't call me back, or you're always working late, or you never come home when you say that you were going to. We don't tune into the deeper emotions driving those frustrations. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling? Is it fear that I'm not important to my partner? Is it a longing to feel close and connected? Let's say, for example, you're upset because your partner didn't make time for you during a busy week. Instead of saying, you never spend time with me, dig deeper. What's the feeling underneath that? The real feeling might be, I feel scared that I'm not a priority to you. And I feel, well, it's important. I need to feel that I matter. Recognizing and naming that deeper feeling is crucial because it shifts the conversation from blame to vulnerability. And that's the second part of this hold me tight conversation. Express your vulnerability. Share that vulnerability. That's the next step with your partner in a way that invites them to connect with you emotionally and being honest about your fears, about your needs. Let me give you an example. Instead of saying, you never care about me, you might say, when you don't spend time with me, it makes me feel scared that I'm not important to you. I need to feel that closeness with you to know that we're okay. I know in our early marriage, Laura used to ask me over and over, are we okay? Are we okay? I didn't know how to, sure, we're fine. What are you asking? What I even get kind of frustrated sometimes that she was asking that question. But when we go deeper and we express the vulnerability, it feels scary because it requires letting down your guard. But it also is the key to creating true emotional connection. When you're open about your needs, it gives your partner the chance to respond with empathy and reassurance. And that's the third step. Respond with compassion and reassurance. After one partner has expressed their vulnerability, the other partner's role is to listen deeply and respond with compassion. This means acknowledging your partner's emotional experience, offering reassurance that you are there for them. For example, you might say, oh, I didn't realize you felt that way. I want you to know that you do matter to me. I'll make more time for us to be together. I'm sorry for making you feel unimportant. Guys, this is really important because a lot of times you get home from a busy day at work and your wife will ask you about your day. And you don't want to rehash the whole day again, but she's trying desperately. Realize she's trying to connect with you. She's not trying to control you. She's not trying to, check up on you to make sure that you did everything right, that you're being faithful to her. It feels like control to us sometimes, but it's not. It's an attempt at connection. And if you can see that, and if you can know that that's what I'm trying to do, if the husband responds like, "Oh, I'm tired. I don't want to go." Honey, I'm just trying to connect right now. I really feel disconnected from you. It's been a long day for me, and I would love to connect with you right now. When partners respond with empathy, when the husband says back, "You are important to me, and I do want to connect," it creates emotional bonding. Both partners feel seen and heard and valued, and this strengthens that attachment bond between them. And so that's the key outcome that we're looking for is building that secure emotional bond. Do you have that right now in your marriage? A secure emotional bond. The power of hold me tight, that conversation, is that it creates a space for emotional connection where both partners feel safe to express their deepest fears, their deepest needs. When couples consistently practice these kinds of conversations, they build that secure emotional bond, the kind of bond where both partners know they can turn to each other in times of emotional need and feel comforted, valued, understood. This kind of secure bond transforms a relationship. Instead of feeling anxious, disconnected, distant, both partners feel emotionally safe. They feel deeply connected, and they know that together they can weather life's storms, knowing that they have a secure base in each other. So, in conclusion, one of the central components of Sue Johnson's book, Hold Me Tight, is her concept of that hold me tight conversation. Again, these are those pivotal, emotionally charged discussions that can help couples deepen their emotional bond. It creates trust. It can even rebuild trust, and it creates a secure attachment. Through these conversations, couples can reconnect on a deeper level by addressing their emotional needs and vulnerabilities head on. Let me give you just a few examples so that you can have some words to say. Maybe an example is, "I know we've been arguing a lot lately, but I want us to really try to understand each other tonight. Let's focus on what we're feeling underneath that frustration." You see how that's different? Or you might say something like, "When you don't respond to my texts or calls, I start to feel really anxious. I'm scared that I'm not important to you." Another, "When we fight and you walk away, it hurts because it makes me feel like I'm not worth fighting for. I feel abandoned in those moments." So important. And then that the other partner validates that fear, that feeling that the vulnerable partner has expressed. An example of validation: "I didn't realize that you felt abandoned when I walked away. I can see how that would hurt you. I don't want you to feel like you're not important to me." Give reassurance: "I know I haven't always been good at showing it, but I love you, and I'm going to work on being more present for you when you need me. You're so important to me. I don't want you to feel abandoned." That back and forth sharing creates that cycle of mutual vulnerability and support in the vulnerability, where both partners feel emotionally held and cared for. Lena and Marcos have been arguing frequently about Lena's long work hours, and Marcos feels abandoned and neglected. Instead of expressing these feelings, he's been withdrawing emotionally, and Lena feels the distance. She's been getting frustrated and accusing Marcos of being unsupportive. So let's set the stage. Lena says, I know we've been having a hard time connecting lately, and I want to try to understand what's really going on between us. I don't want us to keep arguing. I just want to feel close to you again. Marcus comes back expressing vulnerability. When you come home late from work, I start to feel like I don't matter to you anymore. It's hard for me to say this, but I feel really lonely and I'm scared that you don't love me as much as you used to. That's why I've been pulling away. It's easier for me to retreat than to admit how much it hurts. Lena's listening and she speaks it back and validates. I didn't know you were feeling so lonely. I've been so focused on work. I didn't realize how you felt left out. It must have been really hard for you to feel like I wasn't there for you. I'm so sorry. And then Lena offers reassurance. She responds back, I love you so much, Marcos. You're the most important part of my life, and I don't want you to feel like I don't care. I'll make more time for us. I'll try to be more present when I'm home. Marcus responds, thank you for hearing me. I don't want to seem needy, but I just miss you. I'll work on telling you when I'm feeling disconnected instead of pulling away. Do you see how powerful that is? That emotional transparency. It, it, it enables partners, it encourages them to reveal their deeper emotional truths because they're heard. That mutual vulnerability, that repair and reconnection that happens. And what happens is you build that secure attachment. The things that can really blow this out, fear of vulnerability, or defensiveness. If one partner is finally vulnerable and the other just responds like they're being attacked or criticized, they may struggle to listen openly. Those old patterns are what really get us. It can be challenging to break out of those well-worn patterns of blame, withdrawal. Practicing emotional openness and vulnerability over time shifts these patterns. You actually get new highways in your brain. You can rewire your brain. So that hold me tight conversation, it's central to emotionally focused therapy. And it provides you with the opportunity to express your deepest emotional needs and vulnerabilities in that safe, supportive environment. Safe space. Remember that. Make a safe space. I can't tell you what a difference it's going to make for your marriage. Well, we'll be back in a couple of days and we'll be looking at the conversation number 5. And that's going to be forgiving injuries and healing emotional wounds. Don't miss it.